Breaking news. Just saw this on TV. Gotta talk about it. Namaste. Thank you for tuning in yet again. I am your humble host, the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo, reporting to you semi-live about some news I just heard about. I just finished talking about how it was weird that Trump, in the midst of all this craziness, decided to shut down the coronavirus task force. And that I saw that as a pattern of being two-faced, of shuffling to the left and to the right, and of pitting people against one another, right? And I shouldn't be surprised, but here we are, less than 24 hours from announcing that he was going to wind down, quote-unquote, the task force. He's announced that he's keeping it active, but radically altering its mission. What he didn't own up to was the fact that it had been doing a horrible job because of his own meddling. And that he obviously was getting a lot of negative feedback for the way he was managing or the way he was, manipulating the whole thing. He would put on a show and contradict the medical professionals in real time, right in front of them. And was, according to his own words, really fixated on the ratings. His ratings started to go down because of the way he was behaving on these broadcasts, so he decided to cancel them. But people retaliated, and according to Trump's own words, he got a lot of feedback about the task force being important and useful, and et cetera, and that it was a bad idea to cancel it at this time. So he's now magically brought it back. While I'm sure his defenders and his apologists are bending over backwards to rationalize all these different directions he's trying to go in the last 4 days, what it indicates to me is that he's not concerned with the suffering of Americans. He's not concerned with managing the resources at his disposal as the leader of the country. He's concerned with looking good. That's not what we need, Republican or Democrat or Independent, from any politician in office. We need leadership. We need guidance by example. We need an intelligent, collaborative, and open-minded kind of leadership that is truly and seriously trying to improve the situation, solve the problems that we face, and lift everyone up together. And frankly, I cannot see that in what Trump does. Regardless of how much effort is placed or put out by his defenders and his apologists to try and explain to me how he is fighting for me. He's not, right? People who really think that he's fighting for them, I have to wonder, how do they not see that what he does not benefit them? What he does benefits his crony capitalist buddies that want to profit. That's who is benefited by the actions that he's been taking. And that is no different than previous politicians in that office, no matter which hat they wear. Ultimately, when you really dig deep, you find that those who benefit the most are not the ones that they make promises to overtly in their campaign speeches. Those who benefit the most are those that they hobnob with behind closed doors. Anyways, I just wanted to share that fact because obviously my last segment was not up to date. I was just talking about where we were and where we are and how I think we should move forward. And at the simplest level, I guess I have to give him credit for at least being willing to change his perspective course of action in response to feedback My critique, though, is that the way he handles that always seems to indicate that what he's responding to is not about solving problems, helping people, making things better. It's about looking good. And, that is, in my opinion, unacceptable. The fact of the matter is that from day one, Trump has done everything in his power to avoid actually helping the American people. He's wanted to look like he's doing something while actually not doing very much. And basically causing confusion, muddying the waters, and getting people to argue with one another, instead of actually rallying for thoughtful, well-planned out action, collaborative action between all parties with a vested interest in saving lives and saving the economy. I wanted to clarify something. I talked about how the economy is made up. We make it up. We define it. We create it, both passively and consciously, with the choices that we make, the way we spend the money, the way we earn the money, the way we set the norms about what money is and who can have it and all that. Yeah, I'm very cognizant of the fact that made up things can gather real world power and have actual real implications and impacts on people. I'm not pretending otherwise. What shocks me is that, or rather, what I'm speaking out against is the perpetuation of the highly toxic and oppressive system. It's like, okay, if we understand that economy is something that we invented / perpetuate, as in we constantly invent it over and over again by maintaining these norms, by participating in the systems as they exist, how is it that we find it so daunting, so impossible, so unbelievable to consider ways in which we could change the mechanics of economy so that it is no longer toxic, it is no longer unfair, and it is no longer biased towards those who already have lots of money and power? Why can't we do that? Why do people find that so impossible? It's sort of like, I think, the problem with the thought about people dismissing Mother Nature. We've been coaxed into this kind of thinking. We've been slowly, like a frog in a tub of boiling water, been brought to that boiling point of accepting these mental limitations. And it will not be, we will not really solve anything until we really understand that these mental limitations that we've allowed ourselves to become accustomed to are just that. They are just mental limitations, and that we can transcend them, and we can redefine them. We can reinvent them. But we're too distracted, folks. We're too busy arguing with each other over other made-up ideological constructs. At any rate, that's the news I wanted to share with you. I just caught it. I don't know what's going to happen next. It's very crazy. But obviously, this reinvented task force, once it solidifies, because he's talking about some shuffling of personnel and some appointing of new members, et cetera, going to have to watch it diligently. Because we have to hold everyone accountable. We have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to realize that, yes, these are difficult steps to take, and we could be doing all of this differently, right? We really could be doing a social distancing stay-at-home campaign in a much more well-thought-out, intelligent, sustainable, and fair for everyone who's participating kind of way. But we're not, because instead of facing the problem head on with clarity, with collaboration, with transparency, Trump and his administration fumbled the ball repeatedly. And, we're all busy pointing out the fumbling of the ball. At any rate, that's what I want to talk about real quick. which makes this probably the shortest segment in recent history. As always, friends, thank you for tuning in. I've been your host, the incorrigible Mr. Zeppo, and that's been the latest news-breaking news. Until next time, may peace, love, and grooviness blossom in your heart.